I think what we've seen in Bitcoin is that Bitcoin, as you said, it's in a consolidation range. We saw a significant rally. We actually saw the largest sequential numbers of months that Bitcoin closed in positive numbers. So I think it's natural what we are seeing. The other thing I would say, just to put in perspective, Bitcoin is up in a little bit more than 50% year to date, and gold is up like 14%. 14% for Bitcoin is a couple of days, right? Which is natural in an asset that it's on the early adoption phase. It is going to be more volatile. And most of the times, if you actually look historically on Bitcoin, it's an asset that spends a lot of time sideways, right? Actually, most of the time is moving sideways or down, which makes it a harder asset to hold long term because it feels like it's doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, the moves are concentrated in very small periods of time as more people realize the value of it, and they all try to jump into an asset that, as I said, it's still in an early adoption phase.
I would argue in many ways, all of the products that we look at here spend most of its time or their time in that sideways consolidation phase. We talk a lot about that here. The two phases of development, right? You have that vertical phase where you get high conviction, basically imbalance that creates oftentimes by news, and then you have acceptance that forms in the terms of that horizontal. So you get that transition from vertical to horizontal. But yeah, the market spends most of the time in the horizontal phase. I guess one thing that's so impressive about Bitcoin is the really staggering the big moves up that we see in the vertical phase, right? And then again, establishing this trend that we've seen to the upside. It's pretty well defined here, to say the least. Talk to us about some of the fundamentals in terms of what we're seeing behind the rally, the move up, right? You've got the halving, as we've now seen dust settling from the ETF. We're sort of looking to that event, but you also have out there on the horizon expectations that we could see this Ether ETF approval ultimately, and potential impact there as well, furthering the demand narrative.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things happening. So 9 days to Bitcoin halving. As we sit here today waiting for CPI to come out, right? There's a lot of uncertainty around if it's going to be 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. Nobody really knows, right? The beauty of Bitcoin is that
we do know.
Monetary policy. Sorry?
Is that we do know, right? We know that.
We do know.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's definitive.
I can point you exactly to the line of code that, that it shows that the amount of the subsidy is going to be cut in half at block 840,000, right? And that if you look in terms of inflation, right, just to talk in terms of the financial markets, the inflation right now, it's around 1.7% annually for Bitcoin, and it's literally going to be cut down to half overnight in 9 days. And that's how we get to a cap of 21 million Bitcoins at the end of the day, which is another feature. We know that we're never going to have more than 21 million Bitcoins. But just going back to another point that you mentioned that I think it's important, I think one of the big questions we have right now as the ETF became available, and there are a lot of CIOs out there, just like myself, and particularly the ones I think in large wirehouses, they're starting to think and realize that, okay, this is a new asset. I need to take a look, and I need to see if it fits in my portfolio. And a lot of them are looking at it and saying, well, maybe it is too late because price has moved a lot from where it was, right? So all of these things, I think, are on top of the mind of a lot of people. And this is when the reflection of that, it's seeing the price kind of moving sideways. The reality to all of that is that, as I said in the beginning, it's still super, super early. Bitcoin, it's still a drop in an ocean of liquidity in the world when you compare to other assets that have became kind of like monetary assets, right? Think about the S&P, real estate, gold, all of these assets. There's still orders of magnitude of where Bitcoin is. And as Bitcoin captures some of that monetary premium, the upside is still, in my view, significant from where we are right now.